Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast, the podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host, from In Hindsight, Nathan Heintz. From Steelers Nation Australia, Mark Davison. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel J. Here we go.
What is up, Steeler fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Unofficial Steelers Podcast. I'm Daniel. Alongside with me, as always, is Nathan Heintz. Nathan, how's it going, my man? How did you enjoy the game after, a couple of days later? How do you feel about the game?
Not doing too bad. Got home about 40 minutes ago from dinner, so it was good to get out just for a little bit after work today, blah, blah, blah. Good to be back here, guys. Good to see everybody in the chat. Jared Devil Afton, George, what's up? To answer your question, after the game, still feeling pretty good, cautiously optimistic. I know that I came on your channel on Sunday after the game as we talked about how everything went and kind of broke that down. I still feel the same the way I feel Sunday. I actually felt excited to watch the game. They kept me intrigued on what was going on. It felt like a different Steeler game to me than what we've seen all year. And that's not like saying a lot compared to them only scoring 16 points, but it felt like a different Steeler team to me. And I'm cautiously optimistic moving forward.
I agree. My knee-jerk reaction was, where did this come from? The Steelers' offense kind of exploded as far as what we were accustomed to when it came to the yardage. Up until this point, the Pittsburgh Steelers were outgained, the whole 9 yards in every single game so far, thus far up to this point. So, it felt like we were watching a regular NFL offense and an NFL offense that had some sort of rhythm. They played very physical. That was one thing that I had noticed. And since the game, there's been a few things that have come out. One thing was that Jaylen Warren had stated that there was more of a willingness to take chances, take risks. And I think it also came out that apparently Matt Canada would compartmentalize everything like really crazy, and nobody would talk to each other, none of those things. And Faulkner changed that up, put all the entire offense in one room, let them watch tape together. How valuable? I mean, obviously the turnaround was quick, but were you surprised about how much of a difference that made?
I was surprised with how much of a difference. Yeah. Like the fact that first game without Matt Canada, you come out with over 400 yards, which is something that's taken 58 games or however long to do. And second of all, the fact that you come out looking like a completely different offense just in general. You start utilizing the middle of the field, which you haven't done. You're letting Kenny get the ball, push the ball. You're actually utilizing your tight end, which you haven't done all year, though he's missed 4 games. You didn't use him for the games he was there. You're able to see, they've been running the ball well in general, even when Canada was there, but still, Naji Harris has had seem like he had more life in him Sunday. It just felt like a rejuvenated group. And if you're somebody who watches these games each week, you're able to see it yourself. Somebody who does not watch these Steeler games, or who does not watch the Steelers on a weekly basis, you can say, okay, yeah, that's pretty funny that they fire their offensive coordinator and then finally have 400 yards. But like, if you're not watching, like, you really don't see the energy and the life that the team has now that it's with everything that went down. I think if you're able to watch that game, you're able to see the confidence. You're able to see the different style of play that those guys were playing with. You saw a more confident quarterback that you haven't seen all year long. So it was just a complete different all around aspect to everything. And that's a testament. That's a testament to everything that happened. It truly is. Was it all Matt Canada? Of course it wasn't, but a lot of it was. And the fact with everything that you saw different, the fact that what you have, Faulkner coming out talking about Sullivan, the fact even what some of the players have come out and talked about coming into the week, you can already see that. You can read between the lines. You can see what they're saying. Like what you touched on, Eddie saying just doing some different approaches with certain things. Those things matter. The minor details, the little details matter. And the fact when Matt Canada was there, you had a divided locker room. Guys weren't bought in. The offense wasn't bought into what he's trying to sell. Now you have him gone. Now you have a different approach with what Faulkner, Mike, and Sullivan are doing. Guys are involved with each other. More paid attention to smaller details in the offense. That stuff goes a long way. It really does. And coaching matters. I don't care what anybody says. Coaching always matters. Your talent matters, yes, but your coaching matters. Offense, defense, special teams, your head coach, it doesn't matter. Management, it doesn't matter what it is. All that stuff matters. That's why you can look at all these other organizations. Look at the Bears. How many head coaches have they gone? How are they going to go through now? Look at Carolina. They just fired their first-year head coach. They just fired their offensive coordinator. They just fired their quarterback coach all together in one time. Coaching matters. Developing your young talent matters. Having the people in place to develop your talent matters. So talent, and like I said, good talent and special talent can overcome bad coaching. But to actually develop your own talent matters. And that's why you see organizations that have been held back over the years. Cleveland, Jets, Chicago, Washington. How many coaches have they gone through? How many coordinators have they gone through? How many quarterbacks? How many position players? How many draft picks? The Lions up until this point. The list goes on and on.
Yeah, you're right. And
yeah, we saw that Sunday, Daniel, and we can all testify to that. Sure, they scored 16 points. Should have been more than that. But everything else that you saw on offense, everything you else saw from these players play to their energy, it was a completely different ball team.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought that they also took a little bit more risk. I thought that they opened up the middle for Kenny Pickett. I mean, the first play of the game was, down the center of the field to Pat Freiermuth on a play action pass. Again, a play that I don't think was ever really ran throughout the regular season.
Really
I think we saw it in preseason. Yeah, that was the first play of the game. It worked. It worked out great.
Yeah.
Now I will say this: there are still some issues with the offense. They're not there yet. They've had to take put it this way: they have a late start. They've had an incompetent offensive coordinator apparently, and so now they're barely getting into it. Give me 1 second, Nathan. I'll be right back. I got to get something to drink. My throat's about to.
No, you're good, man. You're good. I'll talk to the people in the chat here. As Daniel goes back, guys. I'm sure you guys in the chat agree with what I had to say right there. It's a completely different ball team. Now, we have to stay cautiously optimistic in the sense we still have to take it with a grain of salt. We know what this offense has been throughout the year. But I think with what we saw, the amount of difference we saw, the excitement, the energy level, the utilization of multiple different areas on the offense that we saw Sunday, it should give us excitement and optimism going into these next set of games. And the Steelers' schedule, as we all know, as it is coming up, you can't really ask for better, especially the fact that you have two new guys running your offense. You can't really ask it to come against a better schedule. Cardinals, Patriots at home on a Thursday night, and then you have Indianapolis on the road, which Indianapolis, decent team, but still. And then you got Cincinnati at home without Joe Burrow. So you really could not ask for probably a better schedule than what they're going to get to be able to do more on offense, to be able to explore more. Jeremiah, absolutely. Absolutely it is. You can have a guy like Dan Orlovsky come out on Monday and say that the offense still looked predictable. He didn't watch the game. He watched highlights of the game. Give me a break. He watched highlights. He went back and looked at film. I like Dan in terms of how he breaks down games. I think he does a good job with that. Some other stuff's questionable. But
you see, when it came to that, though,
where I didn't really quite agree there.
When it came to the predictability aspect of it, I don't think so. And I think that the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers went against their tendencies is what really helped this team win this game. When I was watching the game, first and foremost, the play, as we mentioned before, was a play that wasn't run very often. So just based on that aspect alone, it was going against the tendencies. There was another play or two where if if the mid linebacker was shading on towards the inside of your tight end or your running back, who's in the backfield, and they felt that that linebacker was guarding or was responsible for the running back, it automatically went to a swing pass, or if it was a tight end on the side, that tight end would go up and out, right?
Right.
And in this game, they went in instead. And there was multiple times where I saw the Cincinnati Bengals kind of cheat a little bit before the one I can think of right off the top of my head was a Pat Freiermuth one. Right before he broke to the inside, he was the middle linebacker kind of cheated to go towards the outside, and that really made it wide open. So I think because the Steelers went against their tendencies is why this game worked a lot. Now, I will say this. A lot of the plays, when I was breaking it down, that ended up working were plays that the first read was good. The first read was the right read. Now, that could be for a couple of reasons. That could be because of the right play call. That could be the quarterback's pre-snap read and preparation. He doesn't have to go to his second read. But when he did have to go to the second read, I did see some issues still there. He's going to have to work on that. But overall, I did see an improved team. And I think that just because now that the Steelers are targeting the middle of the field, not afraid to use it, not afraid to use the tight ends, defenses have to now, plan for that. They also have to be honest about those things.
Right. Right.
And that's going to open up the outside as well.
See, you can start getting a defense on your toes finally, because when a defense, you don't have the defense all year long. Defense is letting you all day long try to attack them middle field all day long, take shots. Guys, we just watch the game ourselves. We know what's coming. Defense knew what was coming almost every other play. We were watching that ourselves, fellas. Now with what they did Sunday, now with the approach that it looks like Faulkner and Sullivan want to kind of do and what they're working together on, and if you're going to start doing things like you saw Sunday, now you're going to start having a defense respect you a little bit more, because before the fact, just keep your guys up. Simple as that. Okay, they're not throwing deep. They're not using the middle of the field. They're not using their tight end. They want to throw outside the numbers every time. We're gonna defend the sideline. We're gonna bring our guys up, and we're gonna let you try to beat us that way. Now, since the Steelers started to show that Sunday and started to show maybe a little bit of a threat there, now you're gonna have maybe defenses start to teeter a little bit there, but you still have to be able to execute that. And as I was saying, Daniel, while you're gone, these next upcoming opponents, I don't think you could have better opponents to do it against.
Right, but you can't look over anybody or look past anyone. This team isn't.
No, it's not like looking over anybody. Any given Sunday, we've seen the Steelers crap the ship. We've seen it even with Big Ben and those guys that they've dropped games they should have won, that you would think that there would be a lot of success in. Blah blah blah. It's not that. It's the fact that if you're going to be able to have a schedule set, the fact that this back into their schedule, their next 4 games, realistically, when you look at it, is a good opportunity at face value to be able to get a rhythm, find an identity the way that you were doing on Sunday.
Yeah. No, understood. This is another reason why I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers have been successful, just because of the removal of Canada. But these are, for the stats on the left are weeks 1 through 8 before Broderick Jones was the right tackle. And this is weeks, the right side is weeks 9 through 12 as Broderick Jones is the right tackle. 10-yard plus runs. Throughout 8 weeks, the Pittsburgh Steelers only had 14 before Broderick. 21 in the, 3 weeks that he's been on there. Rush yards over expected, -39, plus 214. I'm not really sure how that's makes a difference. Just tell me how many yards he rushed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Success rate, it increased by over 10%. Yards after contact by carry almost doubled, went from 2.9 to 4.7, and a rush EPA of -30.1 to plus 2.4. Just throwing in that one component or having that one player in there really turned around the rushing game. I think that, still a lot to improve on when it comes to this offensive line. And I think that Dan Moore is okay, but I'd rather have Broderick Jones on the left side.
100%.
Get somebody who's, a decent right tackle. So I think that there could be, even more improvement here. And I saw another stat.
They're going to address that in the offseason. 100%.
Mm-hmm. And another stat is Isaac Seumalo has not allowed a sack since week 6 of 2022.
Yeah. And he was getting a lot of flack too. I'll tell you that. He was getting a lot of crap. So he's been really holding it down. And I think the fact too, man, I think it's just that he there hasn't really been quite the situations early in the year where he's had to make up for somebody. I think that was a situation that was a problem that you could go back and look at issues with the offensive line earlier in the year, and he doesn't have to leave. He hasn't had to really leave his assignment nearly as much.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
So, yeah. So it's obviously the offense clearly from Sunday. We have to kind of give it time these next couple weeks to really see what they put down. But in terms of them running the football, in terms of the offensive line, it's obviously the right direction. Do you think it's a coincidence Naji had his best game after Canada got canned?
No, I think he put out a better effort, and I think that equaled a better performance. Mm-hmm. I think he was one of the guys. So do you listen to DK Sports? By any chance?
I don't really listen to DK Sports. I follow him. I see certain stuff he'll put up on Twitter and stuff like that. I haven't listened to his content in a little while.
He spoke, last year that there were, several or a certain, player that was, pretty prominent on the offensive side who didn't like Canada, who had expressed things like early on that they thought he'd be gone, wanted him fired, even last year. And I always felt like that player was Naji Harris. I always thought that was him. And, he comes out after the game against those Browns where, he talks about how, people don't know things behind the scenes, and, the opposing defense knows what the offense is doing, and yada, yada, yada. I felt like that was definitely a shot there, and hopes that it would trigger something to happen. And it did. Yeah. And I think it was the right move. Why do you think it took so long to do this? I mean, if he was, hiding himself in an office, not really communicating with the other, offense, not letting the offense communicate with each other, everybody's on the wrong page. The team was being lost. You had George Pickens acting out for several weeks. It just, the fans in the stands were, the chants for Fire Canada went beyond the stadium.
Got louder each week, man.
Yeah. Why do you think it took so long?
It's a great question. Obviously, through our eyes, Tyler, real quick, says free Pickett. Let's go. Yeah, let him do his thing like he did Sunday, man. Let him do the same thing this week. Obviously, all of us wanted him gone, whether that was before the season started or probably thinking bye week was the way to go. But why he stuck around, I think you can probably think of a couple variables. Number one, the Steelers just really wanted to milk out every single inch they possibly could of staying loyal, because that's their MO. They literally have not fired a coach midseason since World War II. I mean, think about that. So that is probably, at least for me, assumption number one, wanting to milk out and be patient and give as much time possible so they do not have to do something like this that they do not like to do. Number two, it could have just possibly been, there could have been a maybe a thing in the contract or a possibly just factor with Mike Tomlin, given the fact we know his history with Matt and his son in Maryland, blah, blah, blah. So there could have just been a thing there of really just wanting to, him probably knowing that they're going to move on from him, but in the sense of maybe wanting to keep a said relationship there, or a said, which is ridiculous to think about anyway. Given the fact, like, hey, this is professional sports, you're not doing your job, like, why are we paying you? But that could be option number two. Option number 3, who knows? Maybe there's some guys in the locker room that liked him, and the Steelers didn't really want to cut a divide right away, and then maybe it just got worse over time. As things just weren't clicking, things weren't getting better, and it just started to divide the offense more and more. If I had to pick those 3, I'd say the most probable one is probably the Steelers just milking out everything they possibly could out of him, so they wouldn't have to make a move like this. But the third one I said, I feel like I could probably see where maybe there were some people that like him or were still bought into what he was trying to do, and they were probably that they could have been telling Tomlin like, hey, like we're still in, we still believe we can get this ship going and stuff like that, and they continue to stick it out until literally, like I said, the offense you just couldn't do it anymore. At the top of my head, I honestly probably couldn't think of any other scenarios.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what Daredevil says, that there was hope that things would pick up, but it just never happened. Yeah, so that's kind of what I was saying with my last one is like players still could have probably believed in the system and believed that in their own ability to be able to produce and make it work. But then it just got to the point where like we can't. It's just bad. And we're not on the same page. Players are divided. People aren't bought in anymore. And then you had your decision.
what do you think the Matt Canada house was like, or how do you think it was like Sunday? Steelers gaining over 400 yards in the first game post his absence, and winning only by 6 points. So you got an offense that outscored the opposition.
Right.
You're playing a team with a backup quarterback, and yet although it didn't feel like, and the game shouldn't have been as close as it was. It was.
It still was.
You know what I mean? Cincinnati had an opportunity to out Steelers the Steelers. There's been so many games where the Pittsburgh Steelers had no business, being in the game late, and like some fluky stuff would happen, kind of like what happened with the Bengals, where they got a tip pass and the receiver catches it. I think on 2 occasions. On 1 occasion, takes it deep.
Yeah.
Those type of fluky things would happen. Steelers would get a turnover on downs or interception for a touchdown, stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, because they were in it towards the end, the Steelers would come through. Yeah, it almost happened to the Steelers that way. That's what it felt.
Yeah.
There was nothing that the Cincinnati Bengals offense could do. I felt confident throughout the entire game. I felt like the offense was eventually going to be able to push it into the end zone, and only one time. Does that concern you a little bit that they still only scored 16 points? And it was
with what I saw. He still found a way in the stadium. Oh man!
He's trying to sabotage.
To answer your question, with what I saw Sunday, and them still only scoring 16, I'm a little 50-50 on it because, like I said, I have a part of me where I'm optimistic that the points are going to come. That this was step 1, where they put up a good performance in offense, didn't get the points they wanted out of everything, but they still put up a good performance offensively. That was step 1. Step 2 is starting to get the ball in the end zone. So there's a part of me where I'm optimistic that the points are going to come. There's another part of me of where, okay, we saw what we did, but is it going to get to the point where if we do it again, not saying 400 yards again, but do it again where teams start shutting it down and then some of our talent get back into that spot of not producing or having a struggle at quarterback, or like, sure, there's still that stuff there because that was literally the first game all season long where the offense played all 4 quarters. So until that they show that they can do it more consistently and start getting more points on the board, I think we're all going to be in a spot of questioning. And that's kind of where I feel. Like, I'm optimistic about Sunday. I'm optimistic about Thursday. I'm optimistic about the Colts game possibly. And even when Cincinnati comes back a little bit, I have optimism these next 4 games that the points are going to come around. But there's also, like I said, that other side of, like I said, teams shutting it down or guys not performing again or having a stop in the offense because now you you don't really have a set foot in stone offensive play caller. You have two guys that are working together, a running backs coach who's never done this before, and you have Mike Sullivan, who's done it a little bit in the league, but ultimately that's not really what he's been known for throughout his time in the NFL. So there's other things there, but I lean more toward being optimistic that more production is going to come, points are going to come, but it's not going to be something like, I don't have an expectation of where the offense is just going to be flipped and they're going to be scoring 25 points the rest of the year. It's not that. It's just more so we might be seeing more 20, 21, 23 here and there, stuff like that, where we can obviously see the difference. We can obviously see that there's difference and change, but still it's not going to be where it needs to be. And that's going to happen next offseason. So that's kind of the point I'm at. Cautiously optimistic, a little concerned. Okay, could it possibly kind of take a step back, or players just don't really kind of come through the way we saw Sunday? But I lean more toward the right side of where I feel more positive about their direction the rest of the year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I also, echo a lot of what you're saying, and also feel positive about what they're doing and where they're going. But it's just one game. We got to make sure that it's something that can be consistent. For me, how does the saying go? It's like one game is chance, two is coincidence, three is a pattern. So we need to see this happen 2 more times, for us to see that this is actually who the Steelers are offensively. Right. And then we're going to be able to see something consistently like this. Up until this point, the offense was historically bad. The quarterback was historically bad as far as, touchdowns per pass attempt. Right. I think based off of that, since the merger, he's the last. Now, that being said, there's a lot of context there that needs to go into it. But those things typically just don't change overnight. Now, I think the Buffalo Bills, they fired their offensive coordinator the first week after they scored quite a few points, had a big explosion. How did they do this past week? I don't think it was as explosive.
It was actually probably arguably the best game in the NFL season, which I personally don't think says a whole lot. I think that this has been another year in the NFL that's been a dud all around the league. I think the league sucks. But to me, the main gripe, obviously I don't watch every Bills game because they're not on TV every week. But every time they're on TV, I watch their games. To me, when I watch it, the biggest gripe is Josh Allen just turning the ball over and being an idiot. I think that those are situations that hold their offense back. They've been running the ball a little bit more better. But still, they don't really have a solidified run game. Josh Allen wants to win games with his arm. I think that he tries to do a little bit more than he should. I think with what we've seen throughout the year, their offense has been a little up and down. And I was shocked they fired their offense coordinator, just given the fact he's been their OC for a little bit now. And they've been when they fired him, they're still averaging 26 points a game. But so even though they lost this past week, it was honestly more so defensively, really just letting the Eagles get in the territory that they got in. I had no idea what kind of defense they were playing. It was miserable to even watch that. They were just letting up yards after yards. Corners were playing off. I don't really understand the approach on that, and they ended up losing. But watching their game against Philly, like they had control that game a lot throughout it. And Philly ended up coming back. There was a point, I think they're up 21-7 or whatever it is. They were finding big plays. Gabe Davis had a big game. Diggs was kind of doing his thing a little bit, but it's one of those things of where they scored, I don't know how much they scored, 23 points, something like that. So not anything groundbreaking, but they had a really good first half, and then they couldn't really find their ground too much in the second half. So they're in a predicament as well, where they don't have a full-on guy that has been a play caller throughout the league throughout his career. But it's kind of one of those things where they felt they had to make a move because they probably figured they were better than what they were doing. And the fact that one week you're putting up 27 points, the next week you're putting up 13, there's a problem there with the talent you have.
Yeah. If the Steelers end up winning I don't know, 11 games or something like that, which I think is quite possible with their schedule remaining,
Yep.
as we mentioned before.
Yep.
They end up winning a playoff game or find themselves even in an AFC championship. What are the Steelers going to do with the offensive coordinator situation in the offseason?
It's a great question. If they, and I want to hear your answer too, Daniel. If they hypothetically make a run in the playoffs, whether that's winning a playoff game, whether that's getting to an AFC championship, which, I mean, we'll pump the brakes, but just in terms of the question, it's a great debate. That really is. Is it more so Eddie Faulkner? Is it more so Mike Sullivan? I think that's a conversation you have there. But I still think, even though they get to that point, I still don't really think their approach will change too much. I think Omar Khan will take I feel like if it was Kevin Colbert running the show, he would just automatically make one of those two the coordinator easily. I think Omar Khan changes the game a little bit. I think he has a little bit of a different approach. So if that's the way it goes, there's definitely consideration. Do we kind of keep the pace with how things went, keep Mike Sullivan, Eddie Faulkner around, or do we explore a different route? And honestly, I think if they win a playoff game, I don't think that his approach changes, man. I think that he's still going to go out and try to hit a home run the best that he can. And if he ends up thinking that home run is putting Mike Sullivan or Eddie Faulkner as offensive coordinator, then so be it. But even if they go in a different direction, I don't think they should let go of either one of those guys. I don't think that's something okay, we have a new coordinator. Yeah, we're just going to send you off. Keep them in their role.
Isn't that part of getting a hotshot offensive coordinator? He's going to probably want to bring his staff.
It's
people that he trusts.
It's possible, but with what you've seen, at least from the running backs, I don't see why you would want to even let Eddie Faulkner leave, or just be like, all right, new offensive coordinator's coming here. We're going to let you do whatever you want. Like, why the trust that you've built between him and Naji and Jaylen Warren? Why you want to mess that up for?
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
There's a big relationship there, man. There's a big relationship there, and I
agree with that.
I value that kind of stuff. That's just me.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think they're going to still go out and get somebody else. I don't see them promoting from within, just because, well, one, Faulkner is the OC right now, but he's not calling plays. So if he turns into the full-time OC, is he going to be also the play caller, or are you going to, revert Sullivan back to just the quarterback's coach, and take the play calling dudes away? I'm not sure, how that's going to fly. I mean, I'm sure they can do it if they wanted to, have a coordinator by committee, I guess you can say, next year. Have an offensive coordinator and an assistant offensive coordinator, something like that. But I feel that it might just cause, more confusion than good. And if you just got somebody who was able to do both, you know what I mean, and do it both effectively. So I honestly don't think that they're going to keep I think they could keep these guys, but I think that they're also going to go outside to go get someone. And if they end up keeping one of these guys as offensive coordinator, I just feel that that's probably going to be Sullivan, just because of the play calling ability and the experience with the play calling before being a Pittsburgh Steeler, and that, communication and trust with Kenny Pickett. I mean, if it comes down to Kenny Pickett's choice, who do you think he's going to choose? The quarterback coach or the running backs coach?
Probably Sullivan. Yeah.
Right. So I think if it ends up being one of them, it's going to be Sullivan.
Yeah. Let's say, Daniel, that Kenny starts thriving. Okay. Let's see, we start seeing more of what we saw Sunday the rest of the way. Obviously this is just a hypothetical question. Because the quarterback we saw Sunday was a completely different quarterback than we've seen all year long. He was actually effective. His ball placement was good. He wasn't. I can honestly go on and on in terms of he wasn't this, he wasn't that, but I'm not going to get into all that. He was just a completely different quarterback all around. He was making plays. He was pushing the ball down the field. He looked confident. He looked free. He was smart. If he kind of stays this course, and this is like let's say a new, really kind of a new breath of life for him. Is your opinion on him going to change, or are you still, even if he finishes this year, the last 6 games, and being a pretty productive quarterback, are you still going to be cautiously optimistic, or are you going to be pretty confident in him going in next year?
And it's going to depend on the tape, to be honest with you. I think when it comes down to being, or like, how can I put it? The difference between, I guess, like Alex Smith and Patrick Holmes, besides the talent, is the risk, going above and beyond. And I think that if he doesn't get better than what he is now, I don't think he'll be better than an Alex Smith. You know what I mean? Now, he doesn't have the arm talent or ability that a Patrick Mahomes would be or would have. For him to continue to get better, I don't think he's going to get stronger, or he's going to be able to throw, off balance throws or any of those things. He's going to have to get better at making that second read. That's what I'm going to have to see get better throughout this season to be more than cautiously optimistic. Right now, I'm cautiously optimistic as well. I thought what he put out there and displayed was really good. However, there were some times, like for instance, I think it was one where he took a sack. He stared down the receiver on the outside. I think it was George Pickens, and Calvin Austin ended up coming wide open, and he was right next to him. What George Pickens did was probably about a 10 and then a comeback, and Austin went about 10 and then crossed the middle of the field. And I just don't understand. Like, it looked like he saw him, and he kind of did this like double clutch, pump, and then he ended up trying to run for it. He ended up getting sacked. I need to see that happen less. In the games that are in this last game and the plays that I went through, I didn't see him. Come off his first read, go to the second read, and hit it on time or any of those things. That's what I need to see as far as improvement goes.
Right.
The defense that the Pittsburgh Steelers played last week against the Cincinnati Bengals, on paper, good, but what kind of organization are they? Like, really? They lost their quarterback. Obviously, they were going to pack it up and turn. It seemed like a team that was defeated emotionally. It seemed like they were playing the Steelers from the week before. And I told you that, when the Steelers were playing the Browns, that they lacked physicality. They were just getting pushed around. The intensity wasn't there. They were just kind of like out there, like blah. And that's what I felt like the Bengals were. And it probably had to do with the fact that their quarterback was going to be gone for the rest of the season, and that they knew that their season was probably dead and done. So, I want to see this be consistent and go against a stronger defense. Now, I know they're going up against the Cardinals this upcoming week. Cardinals are like 2-8 or something like that. Really poor record. Kyle Murray is back, so a lot of folks are anticipating that he's, maybe the team's a little bit better.
He's going to run around a little bit.
Yeah, he's mobile. He's going to be slippery to get to the ground. He's kind of short, so it's hard to find him sometimes. But I'm not too concerned about the Cardinals.
No.
And to kind of transition into that, the Cardinals and the Steelers game this week. And first and foremost, let's talk about the injury report. Naji Johnson didn't practice today because of an illness. So I'm fairly positive he'll be back. But Minkah Fitzpatrick has been a full participant for the last couple of days in practice. All signs are opening up that he's going to be able to be a go this weekend. How big is that going to be for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense?
Yeah, it's definitely huge. He's been missed. You can watch it. That you can watch it yourself. When you sit and watch the games, he's missed. He's been out of position a lot this year, given the fact that they had a hard time stopping the run against teams, very reminiscent of 2021 when they had him in a similar way. They were getting ran all over. So are they going to kind of keep him in that role? Are they going to try to maybe put him a little bit back more? Maybe that might be a week-to-week thing. I really don't know. But nonetheless, his presence, his command on defense is obviously missed. You got to give some credit to Trenton Thompson, who did a pretty good job. It was really a matter of time because the last couple weeks he's kind of been at the right place at the right time, but just couldn't finish the play. On Sunday, his big interception, as we all saw, it finally paid off. But even aside from that, it seemed like he was in his assignments. It seemed like that he played some high IQ football. So he's somebody that still, even when Minka comes back, he shouldn't be deducted into like a really minor role. Like, he still should see some snaps. I think he's earned that opportunity. But him come back, we know the playmaker he is. Him coming back for these last 6 games, as long as he stays healthy, is obviously huge for the defense because they need that guy back there. Whether that they have him up coming up in terms of helping the linebackers, whether they have him in the back, patrolling center field, no matter what they got going on, the guy's making plays. The guy's a playmaker. He was leading the team in tackles before he got injured. So he's just a big part of the defense. He's a huge IQ football guy of a player, man. So it's definitely gonna be back. Good to have him back. Real quick, just to answer a couple of these, Daniel. Will the Steelers want to bring in someone like Frank Reich or Byron Leftwich? Well, Byron's obviously got the ties. Frank Reich, I really don't know because he had a putrid showing with Carolina, putrid showing in aiding into Bryce Young's rookie season. Don't like to pin that against a guy just off of 1 year when they have years of credibility in the league. He is an offensive mind, but I just don't know if what he wants to do is what the Steelers will want to do. Who knows? Leftwich is definitely going to be a name to keep an eye on. James Fecchio, some bad placement of the ball, that dump off to Warren with Washington wide up front. Keeps come back to me. Yeah, that was definitely the big play. I think that we all can look back at that. That was one of the more plays that stood out again. Coming off that first read, lack of just seeing the field, automatically giving it to Jaylen Warren, which we've seen that crap needs to stop, Daniel. I'm telling you this right now, dude. This isn't even because of the Steelers. I watch all the NFL games I watch over the years. The running back slip screens, unless like you have a rush coming against you, and your running back slips through that rush and gets the yards. A running back screen or a wide receiver screen rarely work in the league. They are awful plays to run. I hate them with a passion. Todd Haley did it. Randy Fichtner did it. Matt Canada did it. Other coordinators in the league do it. They rarely work. Whether you're utilizing a running back in that screen game like that or you're utilizing a wide receiver, they rarely work, and I hate them. If they work, great. They pay off. But to me, 8, 9 times out of 10, you're not getting too much out of it. I hate those plays. I really do. Eliminate it.
Well, I mean, you gotta also realize when how often are the screens used. Most of the times when it's third and freaking forever, and there's not a play.
When it's like a first down, when it's a big 2nd and 5, and you run a play like that, and then you lose 3-4 yards, now you're in a big 3rd down like that. That's what I mean. In important moments of downs, when they're used, they hardly ever work. You can watch the games across the league. It's not just the Steelers that do it. There's so many teams that do it, and I never see it ultimately work out to be much of a gain of anything. More times than not, it's the loss of yards, and I hate it. I hate the play. I've always hated the play. I've watched the NFL since 5th grade. That's when I first started watching the NFL. Things have not changed in terms of that. I never liked the play. To me, not too much positive comes out of it.
You got to have the right players and the right scheme.
You do.
To get those
do. When it's executed well, sure, like it can be good, but it's not. The NFL product sucks. They're really a lot of most of the NFL teams are mid to bad, and to me, there's a big lack of talent, and maybe that's a reason why that we see a lot of crap not working. Maybe it used to. I don't freaking know. But it's just I just never liked the play in general. In Madden, I don't like the play. In real life, over the years, watching Big Ben do it to Antonio Brown over and over again every single week made me want to throw up my mouth.
I like it in Madden. It works for me. But to answer the question also, as far as, Brian Leftwich or Frank Reich, was it Tepper? There's been rumors that he was the one that wanted Bryce Young and Frank Reich wanted CJ Stroud. I can see that happening, the owner being the problem there. I mean, if he fired his coach within 1 year of hiring him, that doesn't sound like a very stable organization. You know what I'm saying? And so, I get that aspect. When it comes to Brian Leftwich, I don't think he'd be a good fit. And the reason being is, Coach Tomlin wanted to utilize quarterback mobility as part of the scheme in the offense. They go out and draft Kenny Pickett because he is, sneaky athletic. He can get in and out. He can use legs. And I'm not sure how much, mobility, game planning Brian Leftwich has put in, given the fact that he wasn't the most mobile quarterbacks. There wasn't any really designed runs for him, run pass options for the quarterback while he was playing. And as a coach, he was coaching Tom Brady. And the same thing goes there. Those things weren't there. So I'm a little bit concerned as far as like, all right, when it comes to what Tomlin wants to do, or, have that aspect in there, is he the right, coach? Does he know how to build an offense based off of, the RPOs and things like that? And I'm not sure if he's that guy. And I think that the Steelers perhaps maybe know that. I think he put it out there that he wanted to be a Steeler, a coach, sitting out the feelers. And, I would think that they would have picked him up by now, as an assistant, just to be in the building, especially when the history of how the Pittsburgh Steelers, get offensive coordinators of recent. They'll bring them in, have them as a quarterback's coach or something else, and then for a year, and then take over the next year.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you, man. I think that's a valid point. So his name's going to come up.
Yeah.
It's going to come up. It's just how it is. But you make a valid point. I can't sit here and predict who. I think once come the offseason comes and names start coming out who they're interviewing, I think we can get a better feel on maybe thinking on who we think it should be, who we don't think it should be, who it will be, blah, blah, blah. But I have confidence in Omar Khan doing his homework. I do. So he's got a little bit of a different approach to him than Kevin Colbert did. See that Haley showed interest too? Yeah, came out and said that, but go in a different direction, man. Don't bring back the old blood. You need to bring new blood in, man. You need to bring new blood in modern day NFL. Todd Haley has some baggage himself. And as we look at how the Steelers offense has been the last 3-4 years, we can always look back and appreciate him, but you'll also look at the talent the guy had. He had one of the best quarterbacks in the league, best wide receiver in the league, best offensive line in the league, arguably. He had the best running back in the league. He had Martavis Bryant at the time. There was a lot of stuff there to work with. And I think Todd Haley more than not did a good job at handling those guys and executing good offense. But I would just rather prefer it. Listen, it's a new era of the Steelers organization, from general manager to quarterback, to personnel, from coaching to different guys. I would rather just see a new direction. Regional, what's up, man? What's up? Will any Shanahan guys be available? Probably. The offense coordinator, maybe, but quarterback coach, or not their offense coordinator, quarterback coach / offensive assistant, possibly. They got a couple names in there, so we'll see.
I think there's a couple of bars. I'm sure there's a couple of bars out there on the South Side that are interested in Haley coming back as well.
You're telling me?
I don't know if you ever heard those.
You're telling me they don't miss his service? Of course they miss his service, man. I'm sure that guy was giving them. I'm sure they were giving. Excuse me. I'm sure he was giving them good business every other week. I'm sure he was. Man.
I'm sure he was.
I'm sure that they miss his services.
They miss those tips. That offensive coordinator pay tips. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my god! Between him and Joey Porter. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Jeez, dude.
We'll bring back Mike Munchak. Be something the Steelers would explore. That's a possibility. What about Pat Meyer? You think the Steelers would promote him from the offensive line coach up all the way up?
Wait, say that again.
What about Pat Meyer? You think the Steelers, given the fact that the offensive line is coming around, you have Broderick Jones' development going pretty good. You think they'd move him up to coordinator?
Oh, no way. No way. No way. That would be miserable. The guy, he has too often than not. The reason why I say no way is because the probability of an offensive line coach getting promoted right away to offensive coordinator is 0.01%. That is I honestly couldn't even tell you if that's ever even happened in the NFL.
Almost with
they
Russ
do-
Grimm.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm 25, so.
I said almost. I don't think he ever actually did it. But he was a
I'm gonna say no
finalist.
way.
He was a finalist.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Hey, if you're a finalist, if Pat Meyer can find himself being a finalist, you know what? Good for you, man. Good for you. I hope that maybe you can get an opportunity in a different direction in an NFL offense than just coaching offensive line. But I just say that just in the sense, not that I know his mind in terms of an offensive mindset, but I just that probability. I mean, there's just no way that happens. There's no way.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But hey,
either.
if you want to bring Mike Munchak back, if he's interested, why not? Give him a call.
How would that work? Let's just say they brought in Munchak as the offensive coordinator. Do you think he would keep Pat Meyer on?
Oh, Munchak is the coordinator?
Yeah, well, he's been a head coach.
Right.
Yeah.
He used to. I remember when he used to coach. Oh man, I really don't know.
How would that work?
Geez, in terms of that scenario, I would imagine you probably would keep your line coach and then probably just give him duty, especially just offensive play calling duties, just because he's an older guy. But yeah, I don't even see that, man. I really don't. I really think that they're going to go in the direction of the youth movement. I really do. I think that.
I hope so.
Yeah, I really do. Who would I like to see as somebody as the OC? Regional. I can't really give you like too many names. There's a couple names that come up. But I think just most importantly for me is when you look at offenses around the league, and especially with the direction NFL offense has gone, because it's a completely different ballgame than what it was even when Big Ben was playing quarterback here at a high level. It's different. It's not the same. You can always say the Shanahan tree, the McVay tree. You could always say guys like come out of Philadelphia, blah blah blah. You could say that. I'm not opposed to that kind of stuff at all. But really, my answer, if somebody asked me that, is just more so. I'm not going to single out anybody individually because there's always guys up for hire. Offensive assistants, other offensive play callers getting a new opportunity elsewhere, quarterback coaches. You see it all over the place. Running back coaches getting an opportunity as offensive coordinators. So I'm not going to say any names, but really my main thing is just somebody who has their hands on NFL offense in today's league that can execute itself. Not somebody who has been in the league since 2004 and finds themselves working for the Giants and coaches Tommy DeVito. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I want to see somebody who, when we look at the offenses across the board that are productive, that match well with what other teams do in the league, I want to see somebody come out of that tree. That's what I want to see. Eric Bieniemy, it's going to be interesting there because they're going to fire Ron Rivera, no question about it. Will he get the head coaching job there? Maybe. Will he stay as offensive coordinator there? Possibly. Matt Canada's brother.
Well, how much better have the Commanders been since Eric Bieniemy has joined their staff?
Yeah. Well, their offense is definitely better than it was last year. It's definitely better than last year. I think when you look at Sam Howell's play, he's only a rookie. He's got his faults. He turns over the ball at crappy times. There's times he'll lay an egg. But the fact that he's one of the top guys in yards, the fact that he's had multiple touchdown games, the fact that Terry McLaurin and you don't really have too much else to work with there, and the fact that he's able to still find productivity from the outside looking in as a non-Commanders fan, it speaks volumes to me. So I can't sit here and say and go through all the stats because I don't know that by heart. But in terms of what I see week in and week out, whether the Commanders are on TV and I got Red Zone on, whether I'm looking at stats, whether the Commanders have a game on that I'm watching, I see more Sam Howell than I do anybody else on that offense. Like, it's different. Like, you could look at NFL offense and you see, okay, I see their running back more than not. Where's everybody else? To me, we all know quarterback's the biggest position. The fact that you see good development out of Sam Howell, who is a 5th-round rookie quarterback, That says a lot to me as Eric Bieniemy is an offensive coach. So, again, I'm not a Commanders fan where I can't give you the full in-depth details on this and that and that. But in terms of my opinion on him, he thrived well with Kansas City. Though Washington's not a very good team, Sam Howell has thrived well with Eric Bieniemy, and that speaks volumes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't follow the Commanders much at all, to be honest with you. You know, I know that they lost Chase Young earlier this year, and there was a lot of conversation that the Steelers were in the running for that. He ended up going to the San Francisco 49ers. But, you know, if there's any consolation, last year the Commanders finished 8-1, so right around 500. Yeah. And this year so far they're at 4-8. So most likely going to finish outside of, you know, under 500. So
yeah, they are.
Is it a step backwards?
Well, it definitely is in the sense of like last year, the fact that they were still in a playoff race last week or two in the season, and now this year you're finding yourselves only with 4 wins. It definitely is, but I don't blame that on too much on their offense. I think Ron Rivera is honestly a garbage coach. And
he could be.
This is Eric Bieniemy's first year with them, and they've only had 4 wins, but to me, when I look at their offense from last year to this year, to me it looks more productive. To me, you've gotten more out of your quarterback than who you had last year, and I think that goes a long way, especially somebody who was a 5th round pick.
Yeah, could be.
That's just me. So let's talk about this Cardinals game, though, man. Let's talk a little bit about this Cardinals game. I know we did just a tad bit, but to kind of get more into it, is Austin going to Syracuse? It's possible. They might be in the hunt for a defensive coordinator. I honestly kind of hope he does. But
me too.
Yeah.
One of the big things about the Cardinals, real quick, is they're not coming in too healthy. You know, Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown has had a heel issue. He's not practiced all week.
They just released Zach Ertz today.
Yeah, he wanted to find a new home, someone that has an opportunity.
I'm calling it.
Now he's gonna maybe. Baltimore, they lost Mark Andrews, so I can see him going there. Mm-hmm. You know, Baltimore willing to pay also more given the fact that they have a need there. But I can see that being the situation.
Yeah.
How is he at blocking? How is he at blocking? Because Baltimore is a heavy run offense. Right. You know, he can be a good guy. You know, Mark Andrews doesn't get talked enough about his blocking ability. So
I think he's decent.
I don't know.
Like I remember when he was with Philly, or not even with Philly. I remember his last couple of years here with the Cardinals. I've seen him like with James Conner run the ball. Like I've seen him block guys. I just don't know. Like he's not a Pat Freiermuth in the sense where he's pretty irrelevant in terms of blocking the guy. He makes an impact there a little bit. I can't really sit and say how much to how extent because I don't watch those games all the time over the years. But terms like whenever I'm watching a Cardinals game or James Conner, watching him going on, I've seen Zach Ertz in there, and so you know it might not be great. It could be, you know, he might just kind of be decent, or he has his hits or misses. But he's definitely more of a receiving tight end to me whenever I watch him.
Makes sense.
So, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. Like he's battled a handful of injuries. I don't think he has too much longer to play. But this Cardinals game, what Daniel was talking about, Cardinals are a little banged up. It's going to be fun to watch James Conner back. It's probably going to be a little emotional for him. Kyler Murray being back. But, what's that?
First game back in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray, he's been back a couple of games. You know, he's not a guy that really worries me or bothers me at all. He hasn't won any games since coming back.
No.
You know, I think, you know, when it comes to the Cardinals, I think right now they're 2-10. Right now they have the 2nd pick overall.
Right now, yeah.
You know, I think Chicago is going to end up having the 1st pick overall because of the trade with Carolina, who are 1 and whatever.
Right.
You know, maybe they'll trade out with the Steelers. They'll give us that 1 overall.
We go all the way up to 1.
Yeah, imagine for
Caleb Williams coming to town.
I don't know. Who?
Caleb Williams.
I don't know, man. I don't know about that guy. I think I like it. I don't think the Steelers are going to go quarterback, especially if Kenny Pickett ends up, continuing on the path that he's going in. Not this year, at least. If he regresses next year, a different offensive coordinator, he's still going to have to battle against the tape. That's the one thing that you have to beat is the tape. Whether it's, this new offensive scheme or the one next year that is going to be implemented, around week 6 or 7, other teams are going to figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are.
No, absolutely.
And he's going to have to overcome those. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So, I want to see more of that. But if the Steelers were to get a quarterback, I'm not sure if I want Caleb Williams. I don't know if I like his attitude, man. The whole I want part of the, stock
ownership and everything like that. Isn't that ridiculous?
I don't like it.
No,
I think I'd rather see Bo Nix.
Bo
Nix says, I think I'd rather see that guy. I think he has some
I'd rather go for Michael Penix than Williams. I like Michael Penix a lot. I like him a lot as well. He'll probably go in the top 15. He'll go in the top 15. I like him a lot. But I don't know. I don't think I'm with you, Daniel. I don't think they'll go quarterback. Especially if Kenny
middle linebacker
shows a lot of things. Linebacker's an option. I think there's a few good corners in the first round. There's some options there, but we'll see what they tackle. Michael Park says Bo, no. He does not like Bo. He does not like the bow and arrow. So
maybe I don't watch college football very much.
I see every year when you have a handful of quarterbacks come out, people like, I don't like him. He sucks. Oh, I do like. You just don't know. You just don't know with quarterbacks, man. Bo Nix could end up being great. He could end up sucking. Michael Penix, Caleb Williams, Drake May, same thing. It's just hard. Yeah. It's just hard. You leave it up to professional evaluators, but even that, how many times do scouts get it wrong? Look at scout reports from combines. Look at scout reports from guys playing in college, and it ends up transitioning completely a different direction in the NFL. It's hard, man.
Yeah. No, it's very difficult to say that, that position is very difficult. And I think a lot has to do with, talent that they're playing with, talent they're playing against.
Yeah.
You can't really get a good grasp of how good those quarterbacks are going to be when everything across the board is evenly matched. Even if you look at some of these, elite teams in the league, how much better, is this quarterback versus that quarterback? Yeah. And it's probably not that much. Obviously you're going to have your outliers, your Patrick Mahomes that can throw a 75-mile fastball, with a football. That's not common. You know what I'm saying?
What do you think about speaking of quarterbacks? What do you think about Dan Orlovsky saying Justin Fields would be an upgrade?
You kind of have to. I don't know about him being an upgrade, but if there's a quarterback that's out there doing better right now, Kenny Pickett's not better than many quarterbacks right now.
Yeah.
And even though he kind of turned around last week, is it because they got things turned around and they're going in the right direction, or is this the outlier? Is this the broken clock right twice a day type of thing that's going to happen every now and then?
Yeah.
So, got to see this, happen again. As far as Fields better, obviously he has more potential. He has more. He can throw the ball probably harder. He can run faster. He's probably stronger. All the intangibles. But can he get it done when the pressure's up?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Does he change into somebody else?
Right.
And, that's what it's going to come down to. You would hope you could have somebody like a Ben Roethlisberger who has a lot of the intangibles that you want: the strength, the off-balance throws, the accuracy, the durability, and also the smarts and the know-how, and the physical ability to overcome, his shortcomings early off in his career, and then allow that to be his strengths in his later part.
Right.
But
Yeah,
you're not going to get that with everybody. I mean, if you could find that in every round or every draft every year, then there'd be a lot better performances going on right now in the NFL when it comes to the quarterback position.
Oh, for sure. The quarterback position is it's not very good in the league. Even when I look at guys like Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Lamar, Herbert, they're talented guys. They're good quarterbacks at the end of the day, but quarterbacks before them, even though like I know that these guys I just named they're still more young, but I don't even put them in the conversation as the quarterbacks of this last era.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like in terms of what their trajectory would be. Like I don't really see not counting Mahomes, but those 5 quarterbacks I named, like let's look at Brady, Breeze, Manning, Ben, Rivers, Rodgers, Russell Wilson in his prime. You could even look a little bit like a Matt Ryan for a period of time. When you look at these guys' trajectory right now, these guys have been starting quarterbacks for 5 years now, 6 years. Do you think that their trajectory will be just as good or better than some of those quarterbacks I named? I'm not buying it. I'm not. I don't think Jalen Hurts' trajectory. I like him, and I think he's going to keep getting better. But I don't even think his trajectory is up there with those guys. I don't think Herbert's is right now. And I think Herbert can have a solid career. I think Josh Allen can have a solid career. I really do. But when we look at the current era of quarterbacks versus the past era of quarterbacks, let's say the 2010 eras, let's just put it that way. I'm not convinced. I'm not. Other than Patrick Mahomes, I'm not convinced that their trajectory will be just as good or better than those quarterbacks I just named.
Right. Nah. And I think that a lot of it also has to do with the fact that defenses. Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with defenses are getting better. They're becoming more. It's just being smarter game plans and showing different things. I think defenses have surpassed offensive ability and talent. And then you also have, like, for instance, the line. On the defensive side of the ball, your defensive line gets pushed in and out. You got fresh bodies coming in and out. Not so much on the offensive line. And I think that does play a role on the quarterback if having a lot of pressure in his face. Now, when it comes to, the quarterback position, I think it was Florio who said that he had spoken to somebody who was prominent in the NFL and that was currently on a team, so it wasn't Tom Brady, that said that the quarterbacks in the NFL right now are just trash. All of them are bad, except for maybe one or two.
Who said that?
I think it was Florio, but he wasn't saying who the player was. I have an idea of who the player was.
Saying that.
Yeah, current player said that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he said that it was. Yeah. Who do you think it was? Who do you think it is?
Ooh. That these quarterbacks are trash. If it's a prominent
player. He said that it's not Tom Brady. Tom Brady said something very similar.
Jeez. Well, it probably was another quarterback.
I think it was.
I don't see it being Peyton Manning. I don't see it being Drew Brees.
Well, he's currently playing.
Oh, okay. Geez, I feel like it would be an older quarterback, to be honest with you.
I do too. For me, I think it's a guy who
veteran quarterbacks.
Yeah, so for me, I think it's a guy who is currently in the league, currently practicing, but not yet back.
Not yet back. Oh, Aaron.
I think it's Aaron Rodgers.
You think it's Aaron?
Yeah, I think it's Aaron. It sounds like something Aaron would say.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't.
He's not wrong either.
I wouldn't disagree with him at all.
No.
I wouldn't at all. I think it's amazing that he's practicing. That's incredible.
Oh yeah, dude, that's insane. I don't know if he's actually
Aaron's a different guy.
Back.
Like, let's put it that way. He's an odd, different guy, but I find him entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. And I mean, I don't know, dude. I had that Achilles tendon rupture. Now, I don't have the doctors or the
Yeah.
the medical staff or
Yeah.
the
Oh my
body
God.
or the
I just
training.
hope that if he plays, I just hope he doesn't re-injure it.
I think he will. I don't think he's going to re-rupture it. I think that the worst thing that he can do is, and from what I understand, is you can, if you go back too fast, you can stretch it. And if you stretch it, you lose power. Now, he's an older guy, so I don't know if he really cares. If
Yeah,
he
he
ends
might
up
just
losing
be like,
power in the
look,
long
I
term.
probably got 1 or 2 years left at the most. I don't care.
Yeah, and he's not looking to run around. He's not a very mobile quarterback. So, him just staying in the pocket and things like that, I think that that's going to benefit him. And like I said, his mobility that he does isn't dependent on his speed. A little bit on quickness. The injury that he suffered wasn't because he was pushing off or running or any of those things. It's because his foot got caught underneath of him, and he got tackled because of the turf, and his leg overstretched, and it popped the Achilles tendon. So, those are the only risks. So I do think that there's a chance that he comes back. My thing is why? I mean, are the Jets even in it? I don't think they are. They're nowhere.
It's
I
pretty
think they're
much
sniffing
chalk.
it.
Yeah, it's pretty much chalk, man. They haven't. I can't remember the last time they won a game.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I
been
don't
maybe-
either. So
maybe a month.
yeah, I don't understand why they even bring him back. But I think it's more of a arrogance thing on Rogers' part. Like, oh
Something
yeah,
to prove, something to show, shut everybody up.
Yeah, I mean, what does he have to right now as a Jet?
He doesn't really have anything
passes?
left to prove, man. He's won a Super Bowl. He's one of the best quarterbacks to ever play. There's really nothing else to prove, man.
I mean, true. I don't think he's not gonna catch up to Brady in the Super Bowl.
No.
I don't think he's gonna play longer than Brady.
No, I could see next year being it.
Yeah. Because he's what, 40 what? 41?
He's 40. He's 40.
Yeah, Brady played till 45. There's no way.
No.
Rodgers don't look like Brady did at 45.
No, and I don't think Aaron has that. But Brady's just different. Brady was different with his demeanor, with his passion, with his heart for winning. And Aaron just seems like somebody all right, he wants to play, he's locked in, but he's not. He doesn't have that type of mentality that Brady had. And I honestly don't really think any quarterback will.
Yeah. Like I said, there are some that are the outliers.
Level.
Yeah, the exception to the rule, the outliers, that happens. Well, let's do some over-unders before the show real quick. So when it comes to the Steelers versus the Arizona Cardinals, let's do Kenny Pickett throwing yards. The line is at 250 yards. You going over or under?
I'm going to go under, man. I'm going to go under. There's opportunity. But until we kind of see the next couple games with their game plan, what they do, I'm going to go under. I think that they're still going to try to run the ball and everything like that. I think that's going to still be a primary focus with how well they've been doing it. I'm going to go under. I could see over if they want to continue to give him opportunity the way they did. So I think they should. I honestly hope it is over, Daniel. But I'll go under just for the fact of I could see him running just really having that focus.
I'm going to go under as well, just because I think they are going to focus on the run as well. It's also going to be raining come Sunday. I know it was raining, this past week as well, but rain, that just kind of screams out short passing games, screams out,
tired of the
running
rain.
the ball. Hey man, it's Pittsburgh. What do you expect?
Tired of it.
What about touchdown passes for Kenny? 1.5 over or under?
I'm going over.
I
think Kenny's going to just play an effective, efficient game. not going to knock your socks off, but I think that he's going to play an effective, efficient game, kind of like Klopp said. Cardinals have weak corners. I think they are going to try to run the ball. I think that if they come in the red zone, I don't see why they wouldn't take shots to a Pickens, to a Freiermuth in the end zone or anything like that. And I think it's actually going to connect. Like I said, I think that these points are going to start to come slowly. So I'm gonna give him the over. I am, because he should have had one on Sunday.
Yeah, that's true.
That was a great pass.
That was a good pass. You know, I completely agree with what you're saying, but I'm going to go under. Well, here's the thing. Every time the Steelers have been in the red zone, it's been a running heavy. It's been a run heavy. Maybe the Steelers go against their tendencies in this game. I don't think so. I mean, you're playing Arizona Cardinals. They're 2-8. They're not going nowhere. You know, you don't want to probably, expose too much of what what your offense can do in this game, like with play calls and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. So I think stay consistent. Yeah, I think they're going to stay consistent with that. And when they get in the red zone, that's probably going to be the Naji and Jalen Warren show. If you have any of those guys in your fantasy football team, I would highly suggest.
Yeah, I'd start them. I'd start either one.
Yeah, 100%. But going back to rushing, 175 yards rushing between the pair of Naji and Jalen Warren. Over or under?
Oh, over. Yeah. I think that we're going to see just another game of effectively running the ball. That's going to be the primary target to run the offense. That's why I have Kenny going under 245. I still think that he'll play effective. But I think that there's going to be some opportunity in the red zone at some different points in the game, like there was Sunday. And I just have confidence in them finishing. And that's why I'm going to give him the 2 passing touchdowns. But I think with Naji and Warren, yep, it's going to be a combo. It's going to be a 1-2 punch once again. And I'm pretty confident they're going to be able to run against the Cardinals. I really am. Cardinals, to be honest with you, I've always been a follower of the Cardinals in a way, not a fan, but I've always followed them because I did live in Arizona for a lot of my life. I'm born here in Pittsburgh, born and bred, but I lived 16 out of my 25 years in Arizona. And after high school, I've been back here for next year would be 8 years living back here. So being in Arizona, Cardinals were obviously the team. So I followed the Cardinals a lot. I can tell you quite a bit about them. Wasn't a fan, was still always, of course, Steeler fan. But Cardinals this year, I'm not really too keen on focusing on them. So I can't sit here and tell you how good the line is, their linebackers. I know guys on the roster, but in terms of how they've been playing, numbers wise, I can't really give that to you. But I just have confidence playing in Pittsburgh, the environment, atmosphere, it's going to be. Steelers are just a superior team. I have confidence. Yeah, Pittsburgh Steelers West, man. Dude, I'm telling you, bro. West Coast is insane for Pittsburgh fans, Steeler fans. It's absolutely crazy. I honestly, personally, I was not a big fan of Arizona. It was too hot for me. It became too big as time went on. It's a pretty state. There's a lot of different things to see. They have any type of shopping, food that you can even think of there. There's a reason why a lot of athletes live there. There's a reason why a lot of people are snowbirds that go there in Arizona. But it's not my cup of tea. It's not for me. I'm glad to be back home here where I've been for 7 years again. But I'm pretty familiar with all the Arizona teams throughout the years. But I haven't really paid too much attention to the Cardinals this year. Why would I? We all knew that they would be crap, and I just simply didn't really care. So
yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm also going with the over on the rushing, the 175. I think that, given the fact, like I said, it's going to be a raining game. I think the Steelers are going to lean heavily on the rush because of that, and it's been working. I mean, the Steelers have rushed for over 150 yards out of the last, three consecutive last games, and if it's not broken, we'll fix it. You know what I'm saying? So transitioning over to the defensive side, how many times do you think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to sack Kyle Murray? The line is set to over or under.
It's at 2.
It's at 2.
Let me say this real quick, George. I lived in. Oh, dude, I bet all the football games you got. Sport was Tampa, Miami. You couldn't watch anything else. That's like with Zach, my friend Zach. He lives in Orlando. He's a Baltimore Ravens fan. He's been a Ravens fan his whole life. And other than their primetime games, or if every once in a while, that's what it is. It's always Jacksonville, Miami, Tampa Bay. So he gets where you're coming from, man. But to answer your question, Daniel, Kyler Murray loves to move. He loves to run almost right away after the ball's snapped. And I don't think that they're going to get as many sacks as you would expect. I think that you're going to get pressure. They're going to be in his face. But I think the fact of how much he just naturally likes to move in itself, you're going to see a lot of throwaways. You're going to see a lot of throws on the run, throws on the move. At least that's what I think is going to happen. So I'm still going to go over. I'm going to go over on the if it's straight at 2. I'm going to go over. I just don't think they're going to get as much as you would think.
So you're going over, but not as much.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm going over as well. I do think that what you're saying is true about him running around like that, but I think he's going to find that the Pittsburgh Steelers' speed and ability is out of this world. I mean, did you see? I mean, even the rookie Herbig, closing in on that quarterback last week and getting a freaking huge sack at the time that we needed it. Dude, these edge guys I like it. Turnover 1.5.
Oh man. I'll go over, man. I'll go over. The fact that Kyler Murray is turnover prone. This is only his 3rd or 4th game back now. He's turnover prone. He's been turnover prone throughout his career. I think the fact of being able to get him running around and possibly vulnerable to make some mistakes, I think is a possibility. I obviously with the Steelers pass rush, we know how special that is. And even with Minkah Fitzpatrick back, I think the secondary's been a little better over the last few games. The Cardinals aren't going to have too much to work with offensively with possible no Hollywood Brown. Rondale Moore has been a very big disappointment for them this year as their slot wide receiver. Zach Ertz is gone. There's not much to work with there outside of probably James Conner. But Murray is a quarterback, especially just because he's careless sometimes. He's careless outside the pocket. That's why I'm going to go over.
I agree with you. I'm going over as well. I think Minkah Fitzpatrick's return is going to be huge, not just for that position, but for the entire defense. He is the communication component to that defense, especially the entire middle linebacker crew that was in charge of wearing the green dot is out. You have Roberts out, you have Quan Alexander out. So it's going to come down to Minkah Fitzpatrick. I mean, I know he's not going to be the green dot guy or that or whatever, but his communication is going to be key. His leadership is key. He had a big part in the I can't remember which fourth quarter stop it was, but one of the fourth quarter stops where he was seen, being very excited on the sideline with Terrell Austin, and the play changed and ended up working out for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was another interception. I can't remember the game off the top of my head, but I'm also going with the over as well. I think that they're going to get to Murray. I think he's going to end up fumbling the ball. It's raining out there. I think James Conner is going to end up putting the ball on the ground as well.
He's just you can get to him. I've seen it so many times.
And before we get into our prediction of the game, we have a bonus over under. So we only usually do 5. Number 6 is going to be who gets more rushing yards, Naji Harris, Jaylen Warren, or James Conner?
Oh, good question. Got to think about that one.
That's why it's the bonus one.
It's the bonus one. Well, what do we get if we get it right?
I don't know, man. You get your name on the banner at the bottom saying that you got the extra question right.
Got the bonus one right. Oh boy. Most rushing yards. Oh man, I think you can make a case for all three. I'm gonna go Naj, man. I'm gonna go Naj. I think Naj shows up again. He's coming off his best game of the season. Um, he did this stuff similar last year, the stretch run. I'm gonna go with him.
Good deal. Good deal. I'm
Over
going with
100 yards with
Warren.
Naj.
Nice. I'm going with Warren. I think Warren is going to. I don't know why. I just think maybe his cutting ability and his ability to hit one cut and go.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be raining. If he has the right cleats on and isn't sliding everywhere, I think that he's going to have an opportunity to take advantage of the defense, who is accustomed to
him, but yeah,
going up against a defense that's accustomed to playing inside on grass that I think is like rolled in and out. It's perfectly, put in there. Every blade is to perfect standard.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing at Acrisure.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
You might step up for all you know. So, what about the prediction? Who's going to win and what's the score?
All right, guys. We all know the drill, ladies and gentlemen. We all know the Steelers are pretty big favorites for this game. It's hard to see or really think of a reason why the Cardinals would win this game. They're not going to. It's simple as that. But let us know. Put your guys' score prediction in the comments. The Steelers, like I said, I think are going to keep their identity to run the football. I think Kenny's going to be efficient. He's not going to turn over the ball again. He's going to keep that streak going. But I think he's going to be efficient. I think that we see, again, a little bit of a more complete game than what we have seen all year. Confident in the defense for this one. They just got to come out healthy at the end of the day. They're home. They know that they're 7-4. They're aiming for the playoffs. Cardinals really don't have much to lose. At this point, Steelers got to stay within their division and within the playoff hunt. I think that we see a game where we can really, for the most part, sit back and just kind of breathe, if that makes sense. I don't think it's going to be a blowout in the sense of where the Steelers win by 30 points. But I think that we'll see another add-on offensively, and I think a little bit more of the points are going to come. I'm going to say the Steelers win. I'm going to go 24-10. I'm going to say they win 24-10. The points come along. They break over that 20-point mark. I think everybody feels pretty good coming out of a win, even though it's the Cardinals. And then they go into Thursday night. That's how I think it's going to be. And like I said, I think it's just going to be a game where you can, for the most part, kind of breathe it out. It's not going to be at the edge of your seat like how most of the season's been. Afton says 30-10. Pretty big performance from the offense, it looks like. Jeremiah's sticking with the 30. 31-6. Brian, 45-6. Holy cow. Would that be just an incredible showing for the offense? George, 30-12. Awesome. So these guys are saying 30 or more. Steelers defense gets one score. I could see that. I'm going 24-10. Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah, me and you are more on the same kind of close. I went 4-13 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that when it comes down to it, the Steelers are going to run the ball quite a bit. And when you look at a team that's going to be dynamic and can run the ball, it usually eats up the clock. So it's going to come down to opportunities. And I think that, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have more, successful drives. It's just going to be less drive because of the success of the drives. Right. So I'm going to go 24-13 Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay. I think the defense gets a couple of turnovers. I'm hoping a Minka pick six. But if that happens, then I think that they do go over 30. Yeah. If the defense hit a TD, they're going over 30.
Yeah. You guys are on the same exact page. I'm pretty close with you guys. If they just have a really good showing offensively, regardless of, I'm not going to put a number on the score, but if they have a pretty good showing offensively and just really have an ultimate convincing win, like it's really not anything of where it's tight or it's close or anything like that. Like it's pretty it's not in reach. Let me put it that way. do you think more so, and not just you in particular, but maybe more so the general consensus of the Steelers is more so the fact that they would have 2 games in a row of production on offense, that the general feel for them would change as a team, the fact that they're kind of finding a groove, it seems like they're stepping in the right direction finally, that they got Canada off their backs. Do you think that general consensus would change, or you think it just kind of be more so, all right, let's give it a few more games?
I mean, I think that majority of folks are probably going to turn and say that this team has turned a corner, that they're doing better, and the loss of Canada, addition by subtraction was
Sure.
only key but needed for this.
Right.
So.
Right.
I can see that starting to be the narrative. The Steelers do go up. We just got to be grounded in reality that the 2 teams that the Steelers have played, aren't the best teams in the league. And the one that's coming in on Thursday isn't either. So, I think it'd be more concerning if the Steelers don't go out there and perform comfortably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's going to be the measuring stick. It's not so much whether or not they win or not. It's whether or not they perform to a certain standard and beat the teams that they need to beat, right? If we expect this team to actually make some sort of playoff push or be a contender into playoffs, they got to beat the teams that they're supposed to beat. And it starts with the Cardinals. They need to beat them. It is a team that, like I said, on paper, Steelers should beat. I know they've played down to their competition before. But this isn't a team that should be looking down at anyone. So, and I think they're going to be prepared. I think they're going to come out excited. I think their confidence is up. And if they come out and score TD right away, or the defense goes out there and gets a 3 and out right away, I mean, that's just going to boost the confidence of the team right off the bat. Yep. And I think it would have a good, possibility of this getting out of control in a good way.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I think you put that in a good perspective of staying grounded, and that the measuring stick is definitely based off of how they win versus if they win or not. I think that's definitely a good way to kind of have that perspective. I think most of us are pretty confident that they're going to trend more toward that comfortability factor of winning, and trend more toward finding more success on offense than not, especially with who they have to play. Steelers are going to win the division because the Ravens still have to play, or Raptors still have to play the Dolphins, Niners, and Jags. Yeah, it's tough. They got a few tough games there. Still have to play the Steelers. Steelers still have to win their games, right? That's what you got to play. Who's on your schedule? Long as Kenny stays healthy, they should be fine. Yeah, he's a good go. Great show, guys. Yeah, we appreciate it. But so we all kind of put our predictions in. You guys put your predictions in. Daniel and I put our predictions in. I think we're all pretty much on the same page of the Steelers winning in a more breathable type win than what they usually or what they have been doing. And we continue to see the trajectory moving forward on offense. And like what Daniel said, addition by subtraction. So the next show, guys, will be on my channel next Wednesday. We'll talk about the outcome of this game, the Thursday night game. We'll do that next Wednesday. How about the Cardinals start the game with the football and the Steelers defense get the game's first score? Yeah, right away, make an impact right away. Get to Kyler Murray. That would be great.
Isn't that how that Carolina game started that you went to?
No. The Carolina game started. McCaffrey scored on the first drive, and then the first play, the Steelers drive, was a touchdown to Juju down the sideline.
Oh, that's right. And then it just snowballed from there.
Yeah, it did. Vince Williams had a pick 6 that game, though.
There you go. I knew the defense had this for somewhere.
Yeah, that's what it was. TJ Watt had a huge hit on Cam, and then Vince Williams ended up having a pick 6. So, the game was a slaughterhouse.
Yeah, hopefully the Steelers will have another one of those type of games this week against the Arizona Cardinals. It is. We need it. And, check in, tune in. I'm going to hit that like and subscribe button. I have one more tape breakdown that I'm going to be showing out here. before this game comes out. So make sure you subscribe so you can catch those. If you haven't checked out, my breakdown of the offensive passing game and Kenny Pickett, go check that out. It's in the videos section. Also, I did a breakdown on Joey Porter and his ability to be or possibility of him being a lockdown corner for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Go check out those 2 videos. Give them a like, share, and subscribe, the whole 9 yards. Nathan, any final words?
Oh, that's gonna be it, guys. I think we all kind of left it out there on the show, on the table, from this past game to even just other conversations we got into this game. So just gonna leave it there. We're gonna let it play out, see how it goes. Got a couple days before that game. So looking at this game, at this weekend stretch of games, the Niners and Eagles play at 4:30. So that should be fairly interesting game. Browns play the Rams. Bengals play Jacksonville on Monday night. So hopefully the Rams take care of business against Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is going to start that game. So that should be first game for him of this season and coming off the couch. So that's going to be interesting nonetheless. But yeah, guys, you can follow me, pretty much all you guys do, but anyone new, if you're interested in my content, in hindsight, like I said, we do those, Daniel and I do our shows back and forth Wednesday on each other's channels. So make sure that you have notifications so you're just kind of up to date if you're interested in watching what we do. And I just try to put out content when I can. So always appreciate your guys' support. Always appreciate you guys in the chat. Always seeing you guys putting your thoughts out there and having conversations. So it's always good to talk with you guys to see what you guys have to say. So in the meantime, we will see you next Wednesday.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see you next Wednesday. And Bernie, how's it going? What's your take inside if needed? Honestly, I think that he has the size, ability, and the intangibles to do it. I just don't know about how much time he's had at that position, especially this year. I think the primary focus has been him on the edge. But, that sack that he had, he was in coverage in the middle of the field, and then he ran down and took down the quarterback. To me, that seems probably playing a little bit of the inside. The Steelers have been known to play 3 outside linebackers in the field, with one of them playing in the inside. So I'm going to be opposed to it, especially if there's a running back or an offensive, opponent that has a speedier player. I'd rather have Herbig on them than Robinson or Roberts. So just there, but right now I think they're playing good. They may not need to move him there completely, but I think if need be, I think he'd be all right. Yeah. But yeah, we'll be back again. I'll be back on, like I said, I'm gonna have another video coming out, another breakdown, and then the next I'll be live is after the game on Sunday. So until then, we'll see you time.